The psychology of people raised in the 1970s. Growing up in the 1970s shaped people in ways that are almost impossible to recreate today. No smartphones, no tracking apps, no helicopter parenting, just raw childhood, filled with freedom, danger, boredom, and real-world learning. And those conditions built psychological traits most people today never get the chance to develop. Here are the hidden psychological patterns of people raised in the 1970s. Number 1. They grew up with absolute freedom. You didn't just hear about freedom, you lived it. In the 1970s, your parents often had no idea where you were, and honestly, no one thought that was strange. You walked or biked to school alone. You played outside until the streetlights came on. You navigated neighborhoods, trails, parks, and streets without constant supervision. That environment shaped a very specific psychological structure. Your brain learned to operate independently without needing reassurance from anyone. Instead of relying on adults to solve problems, you evaluated situations yourself. You made quick judgments about what felt safe or unsafe. You developed spatial awareness, learned to orient yourself, and figured out how to get home from anywhere. This free-range childhood sharpened your instincts in ways modern children rarely experience. That independence didn't fade when you became an adult. It built the foundation for self-confidence, autonomy, and emotional stability. Today, many people rely on digital tools for direction, connection, and validation, but your mind was trained to stand on its own. Your freedom was more than a childhood memory. It became a lifelong psychological anchor. Number 2. They developed a sharp ability to read situations and people. Growing up without adults hovering over every interaction forced your brain to become incredibly observant. When you were out with friends, exploring streets, fields, or playgrounds, you had to gauge danger, mood, and intention on your own. You learned to read the subtle cues, tone shifts, facial expressions, body posture that told you whether someone was friendly, annoyed, angry, or threatening. This wasn't abstract psychology, it was survival. You figured out quickly which kids were safe to hang out with, which adults to avoid, and when a situation was about to turn bad. No one taught you this formally. Your environment trained you through constant exposure and immediate consequences. As an adult, this turned into strong social intuition. You can walk into a room and sense tension. You read people faster than younger generations, who rely more on text, emojis, and online communication. Your ability to decode unspoken information comes from years of real-world practice, not theory. Number 3. They were trained to be self-reliant from a very young age. In the 1970s, coming home to an empty house wasn't unusual, it was normal. You unlocked the door yourself, you made a snack. You managed entire afternoons without anyone checking in. And while that level of independence might seem extreme by today's standards, it rewired your brain to believe that you were capable and competent long before adulthood. This early autonomy built a strong internal locus of control, the belief that you influence your own life instead of waiting for someone else to guide you. You learned to make decisions, solve problems, and handle small crises with calm practicality. You didn't panic when things went wrong, you figured it out. That psychological framework followed you into adulthood. It made you steady, proactive, and far less dependent on external validation or rescue. You learned early that your choices shape your outcomes, and that mindset became one of your greatest strengths. Number 4. They turned boredom into creativity. In a world without smartphones, video games, or endless streaming, boredom was unavoidable. But instead of being a problem, it became your greatest teacher. When there was nothing to do, your brain didn't shut down, it switched on. You invented games from scraps, sticks, or imagination. You explored random places just because they were there. You drew, built, tinkered, and experimented. You daydreamed for hours, and those moments of mental wandering strengthened your creativity and cognitive flexibility. Modern research shows that boredom stimulates the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for creativity, problem-solving, and identity formation. You lived in that space constantly. That's why people raised in the 1970s often have vivid imaginations, strong innovation skills, and a natural ability to turn simple moments into meaningful experiences. Your brain was shaped by silence, space, and freedom, 3 things modern children rarely get. Number 5. They understood real risk because they experienced it firsthand. You didn't learn about risk from warnings on social media or safety manuals. You learned it through scraped knees, bruised elbows, and the unmistakable shock of falling out of a tree you probably shouldn't have climbed. The 1970s gave you physical, unfiltered experiences that taught your brain the difference between real danger and imagined fear. That distinction is something many people today struggle with. When you biked without helmets or jumped from heights that now seem absurd, your nervous system calibrated itself through trial, error, and recovery. You didn't avoid risk, you evaluated it. You paid attention to your limits, tested them, and slowly expanded them. This created a grounded, practical sense of judgment that still guides you today. As an adult, you're not easily panicked. Your confidence in handling the real world comes from thousands of micro-experiences your body still remembers. You trust your instincts because they were built from reality, not theory. And even now, you can look at a situation and instantly sense what is actually dangerous versus what is just noise. Number 6, they learn to enjoy solitude without feeling lonely. Before constant messaging, online friends, and instant entertainment, solitude was a normal part of life, and you learned to handle it with surprising ease. You could spend an entire weekend in your room, reading, drawing, building something, or just lying on the carpet staring at the ceiling, and it never felt like punishment. Your nervous system adapted to silence. Your mind learned to soothe itself. You discovered early that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. That emotional independence is something many people today desperately try to develop through meditation or self-help practices. But for you, it's simply built in. This comfort with solitude created an inner calm that continues into adulthood. You don't need constant stimulation to feel grounded. You don't need reassurance to feel secure. You can enjoy your own company without restlessness or anxiety. That ability is one of the rarest emotional strengths a person can have today, and it came naturally to you because of the environment you grew up in. Number 7, they mastered emotional self-regulation. In the 1970s, when you were upset, you didn't text anyone, you didn't vent online, you didn't have instant distractions to numb your feelings. You had to sit with your emotions, boredom, frustration, embarrassment, anger, and let them move through you at their natural pace. Without realizing it, you were training your emotional resilience. When something bothered you, you couldn't escape it. You either endured it until it passed, or you figured out a solution. That constant exposure strengthened your psychological muscles. Your brain learned that emotions are temporary and manageable, not emergencies that require immediate response or validation. Today, that skill shows up in your patience, your practicality, and your steady temperament. You don't overreact as quickly as others might. You understand that discomfort isn't dangerous, and most importantly, you trust your ability to ride out emotional waves without falling apart. This slow, organic emotional training made you calm, grounded, and self-regulating, a rare combination in a world that encourages instant expression and instant reaction. Number 8, they became excellent at delayed gratification. Growing up in the 1970s meant living in a world where waiting wasn't optional. It was built into daily life. If you wanted to watch your favorite show, you waited an entire week for the next episode. If you wanted a toy, you waited for a birthday or holiday. Even photos took days or weeks to be developed. That rhythm trained your brain to accept delays without frustration. Without constant dopamine hits from devices or on-demand entertainment, your reward system developed slowly and healthily. You learned how to anticipate things, how to look forward to them, and how to appreciate them fully when they finally arrived. Your brain grew comfortable with long-term rewards over instant ones, and that shaped your adult behavior in powerful ways. That's why many people raised in the 70s are disciplined, patient, and resilient in long-term goals. You know how to commit, you know how to follow through, and you can tolerate the uncomfortable space between effort and reward without giving up. That skill, delayed gratification, is one of the strongest predictors of success, and your generation was trained in it naturally without even realizing it. Number 9, they built resilience through real failures. Your childhood didn't come with safety nets. You fell off bikes, lost games, broke things, and occasionally got in trouble, and no one swooped in to cushion the experience. You learned early that life doesn't soften the blow, and that failure isn't the end of the world. When you got a bad grade, you faced the consequences. When you argued with friends, you had to navigate the tension yourself. When you made mistakes, you learned to fix them or live with them. This constant exposure to real outcomes built a durable form of psychological resilience that many people today struggle to develop. Because your failures weren't softened, your mind learned recovery. It learned adaptation. It learned how to take responsibility without collapsing emotionally. That's why, as an adult, you can handle setbacks with more maturity and steadiness than many younger generations. Your resilience isn't theoretical. It's lived, practiced, and deeply rooted in your early experiences. Number 10. They developed sophisticated social skills because they had to solve conflicts themselves. Before adults micromanaged friendships or monitored every interaction, kids handled social life on their own. You negotiated rules, settled arguments, decided who joined the group, and figured out what was fair or unfair, all without a parent stepping in. This constant social negotiation sharpened your interpersonal intelligence. You learned to read micro-expressions, sense shifting group dynamics, and resolve conflicts without escalation. You knew when to apologize, when to stand firm, and when to walk away. You learned diplomacy before you even knew the word for it. Those experiences created strong social competence. You can navigate tension, manage difficult people, and maintain relationships with ease because your early environment required it. You weren't protected from conflict, you were trained by it. This gave you social confidence that feels rare today. Your instincts are sharper, your conflict resolution skills are stronger, and your ability to connect feels more grounded and authentic because you learned it the hard way, through real human interaction, not screens. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.